Oh gosh, today it will be 4 weeks. 4 weeks that a precious life was taken. To you, my listeners, I want to thank you for your patience with me, as my episode releases have been a little bit erratic recently because of this. So instead of this week's scheduled episode, I wanted to spend a bit of time reflecting on what I am currently going through, in the hope that my reflections might help you with your own perspective of the grief you may be facing. To give you some background, I haven't really been in a relationship for a long time, probably 20 years, except for one recently that I kind of call my Clayton's relationship, because it was a relationship without having a relationship. It really never really got off the ground due to lockdowns and other bits and pieces. So I certainly wasn't expecting to fall into something with a colleague, and he wasn't either. It just happened for both of us, caught us unawares. And, I was ready for a relationship. And so I gave this 100%. No barriers, no past, just to be totally me, to see where it would go. And because it was with a work colleague, we decided that we didn't want anyone knowing until we worked out where it was heading for ourselves. So we kept it pretty quiet. Didn't hide it, we just kept it quiet. And it found its own beautiful, comfortable rhythm where we enjoyed being with each other. We went out to dinner, the movies, talked up an absolute storm. He cooked for me. We had this effortless connection, and we got super close. We just got each other. He made me feel safe and protected, valued and special. And I'm really hoping that I made him feel the same way. And I was excited for the camping trip he had been planning for weeks. He had lists and equipment and everything. He was testing out a new camping setup and would be in the middle of nowhere in an amazing part of our country for 9 days, hiking, biking, and simply enjoying just being there with no distractions, because there was no cell phone coverage. It was really that remote. And he had been there before, so he was looking forward to exploring new tracks and just exploring this remote part of our country further. Yet, on the day after he arrived, the unimaginable happened. 5 days later, we got the news. And I was plunged into a grief I hadn't before experienced. It was sudden and unexpected like Tal, yet it was a whole new level of grief, with so many unknowns that come from homicides. Aside from my family, nobody really knew about us, as I mentioned earlier, so his next of kin in the UK had to be notified first. I couldn't hide the heartbreak I felt. Yet I somehow had to, until I could work out the best way to manage the situation I never thought I would be in. You see, my entire workplace was in shock over losing someone who had been there for 8 years and had really gotten to know just virtually everyone. He had that sort of really open, engaging personality. And where did I fit into all of that? I didn't have that kind of history. I'd only been there just on 6 months. How would people react if I shared our relationship now, after he died? How could I hide it? How could I hide that I'd lost someone who had quickly grown to be the best part of my life? I just didn't know how to navigate this. Unfortunately, I had some amazing advice and guidance from a trauma specialist who had been brought in by our workplace to help us navigate this tragedy. I chose to tell a few key people, like his boss and best mate, and those I was working closely with, as they needed to know that I was right in the midst of a major grief process. I was grieving big time. I knew from my experience with Tal I could find the light and I could find my way through this. And I knew from listening to all the amazing guests I've interviewed that there is a way through even the darkest of moments. So I'm really, really grateful that I have you and I have this background to help me get through this. So what I decided to do was literally surrender to this. I sobbed my heart out. I picked myself up, dusted myself off, then went straight back to sobbing my heart out again. The thing about surrendering is that you don't have to make sense of things. You don't have to do anything. You just have to allow it to be and to let it play out. And from that, some incredible things started to happen. I had support from really unexpected people at work. I even got to meet someone from work who did know about us. Well, she didn't know my name at the time, but, now she knows who I am. And I just can't tell you what that means to me. And I attended the most beautiful send-off for him, with special things that just a few of us were in the loop of knowing that were just for me. And I got to meet some special people in his life here in New Zealand. Also, like I hear Tal, I began to hear him too, just a few days into losing him. Ironically, I'd also booked a session with a medium weeks before knowing this had happened. And although I desperately hoped, I really didn't expect him to come through, as it is often difficult for newly transitioned souls to do that. But you know what? He did come through. He came through loud and clear. So immediately I felt the sense of peace. And yes, I did get an idea of what had happened. But more importantly, I began to understand the bigger picture, as I thought it would probably be. Yeah, still sucked a big time to lose him and the potential of what could have been. I was, and I am, heartbroken that I had finally allowed myself to trust and love with my whole heart, and that it was snatched away in an instant. Yet, it seems our paths were only meant to cross briefly, enough for me to show him unconditional love, and for him to show me that I could have all I wanted in a relationship. Some people never get to know that, yet we did. So, in a sense, how lucky were we? If you've listened to my episodes and my story with Tal, you will know that I believe we sign up to what we need to learn during our time here. So just like Tal, Abe was a brief but pivotal part of my journey. Like I said, it still sucks big time to open your heart wide and to lose all over again. But I believe it is what we need to allow ourselves to do over and over if necessary. You see, the healing I did after Tal's accident allowed me to heal so many hurts I had carried over the years. I was living in the moment and I was happy. And I know this is something that I'm able to return to. Another incredible thing that has happened is that I got to meet and form an instant connection with his sister out from the UK. And we got to do some very tough that extremely special things on our roadie together to where it all happened. To visit a place that was the cause of so much heartache for us. It was amazing that she didn't feel the anger that she thought she would. And so she could let her own anger go. It was incredible. We were just surrounded with love and this opportunity to heal in this majestically beautiful place. One of the policewomen who accompanied us shared something very profound with the owners of the property. They were feeling that their patch of paradise, where they had felt that everyone, including themselves, would be safe from harm, had been shattered. And that they were responsible for what had happened on their watch, on their land. Yet, this police lady said, you have to separate the two, that the act itself is independent of where it happened. You can't feel responsible for something you have no control over. You can't feel responsible for what that person or persons chose to do. And how many times do we say to ourselves, if only we had done this, or if only we had done that? The reality is, none of that matters, because once the event or act happens, it's done. No amount of hindsight can change that. So I guess we just have to stop torturing ourselves with what ifs. Just as we have to allow the person or the persons who commit these acts to have total ownership and responsibility for them. It's realizing that there are many, many things out of our control and making peace with that as best we can. So I got to spend some incredible time with a beautiful lady I can now call a friend. We have laughed, we have cried, we have hugged, and we have just been. I also got to meet her mum and dad and husband via WhatsApp. And now they have a sense of who I am, which is really kind of special. And I get to know these lovely people as well, especially as I knew that they were all such a big part of his life. Yes, I certainly feel like I've had my fair share of lessons to learn. And I certainly didn't feel like I needed another one of this magnitude. Though to know his final few weeks were filled with the possibility of what could be and how it could play out fills my heart. For a brief time we experienced, just real, simple, beautiful happiness, togetherness, joy. I want you to know that I am not exceptional in any way for dealing with grief this way. I'm just like you. I've been hurt, wounded, broken, angry, lost. And in a heartbeat, I would have these loved ones back. Though it's not meant to be. So I treasure the awareness I now have. And I look forward to the time that we reunite. That I can get to be together again with these beautiful, beautiful souls. So 4 weeks on, I choose to surrender, to allow myself to be, cry some more, laugh some more, be serious, be reflective, be sad, be happy, to seek help if I need it, to know that this has impacted my life, but it does not define my life. Most importantly, I choose to be grateful for what we did have and to honor this wonderful person who touched my life briefly, but oh so magically. I now have two very special people lighting and guiding my way. And from the bottom of my heart, I wish the same for you. And I hope what I've been able to share with you in this experience will help you in your own journey. So finally, I'm sending you my love and light for your own way forward. Take care, beautiful souls. I love you.